Good afternoon and welcome to Freewheeling. I am back. With me once again. I have a very special guest, and so I'm going to jump straight into it. For those of you who are joining us right now online, remember you can ask your questions when I tell you, so keep them ready. And without much further ado, a man who really doesn't need any introduction, and I will introduce him anyway. There you go. He's on your screens now, Mr. Vikram Kirloskar, who is Vice Chairman at Toyota Kirloskar Motor, and also a very, very familiar face on the corporate landscape, someone who has spoken up both at industry association levels and for industry too. And so it's a pleasure to have you with us, Vikram.
Thank you. I'm also president of CII. I think because that's what I've been doing a lot of work nowadays in the last few days, especially on television, just talking, trying to listen to or give Gyan as president of CII.
In fact, that's what I was about to jump into and ask you, that these days you're probably more busy with your CII role than with your Toyota role. So, but of course, all of us here are confirmed petrol heads. So there's no doubt I will ask you more auto questions. But it's a good thing you started with that, because, I think there is, in general, of course, these days, there's a lot of anxiety about what's happening, what's likely to happen, when will it change. Nobody has a clear answer, of course. So your responsibility in that role becomes almost dual. I mean, on the one hand, you're trying to create a sense of reassurance and calm, and on the other hand, you're also trying to give people some of these answers. So how do you balance that?
People keep on asking me, when is the country going to open? That's the biggest question going on now. And I just want to share something. We had a National Council meeting at the CI the other day. We had about 120 people online on Zoom. And then we were joined by a couple of ministers as well. But at the end of the meeting, one of our members made a fantastic presentation summarizing everything. And there are 5 key points he brought out. This is not my Gyan, but this is someone else's Gyan. But I think it's worth sharing those 5 points, because I think it makes sense to everyone. And he says this is one of the first times we've had 5 shocks which have come at the same time. We've got the health pandemic. We've got an oil price shock. The Russians and the Saudis fought, the prices went down. But not only did the prices go down at this time, the whole consumption also went down. So everyone is sitting with buckets of oil. The oil companies are sitting with buckets of oil, don't know what to do. There's an exhaustion of monetary tools all over the world. And there's corporate over-leveraging, and there's potentially a new Cold War between China and the US and perhaps other people. So we are sitting in the middle of 5 things at the same time. Response to these 5 things is not in a coordinated way. Whether it's from governments around the world, whether it's from governments in a single country, each country has its own way of dealing with the issues. There's no coordinated sort of response, even to the pandemic. If you see each country, each state, each city is doing its own thing. Yeah. So it's not. We've never had this kind of experience before.
And is that a concern? Is that an overriding concern now that we're a few days in? The fact that we're still not getting that coordination?
No, there's coordination in India, as you say. Like I said, on the pandemic, there is certainly a lot of coordination. For a size of 1.3 billion people, to see so much coordination. If you see the news every day, it's the same story which gets repeated all over. By all channels, 2 or 3 stories. It's not like 10,000 stories being repeated. Maybe there are 10,000 events happening. And even if 10,000 bad events are happening, it's still very small. So I think, yes, of course there are events happening. There are bad issues happening. There are problems happening. But I think the level of things that are working also is very, very high. And for that, I think we've been having talked to the government a lot. On my CI role, we've been discussing a lot. And the responsiveness to an issue is ultra fast right now, I must say. First time you're seeing the states also getting pretty well coordinated with the central government. Always there are going to be mistakes here and there, something, but they're getting sorted out. So I don't think it's a country-wide coordination, but what I'm saying, it's a coordination of not just the health. It's health with the monetary issues, with the corporate leveraging, with the oil issues, and with God knows what's going to happen between China and the US, and this whole suspicious attitude that's coming up.
And they didn't start off on a great wicket to begin with.
Sealed.
That's right.
It's like, so it's a different situation all put together, I think. I think that's what is it's a different situation this time.
But from a corporate perspective, what's going to be that big worry when things do open up? When these lockdowns lift, is it going to be about jobs? Is it going to be about keeping businesses going and sustaining that? I know it's going to be a bit about everything, but at the same time, what becomes like your chief priority then?
See, if I look at myself, I'm a large business. Toyota Kirloskar is a large company. All our part suppliers, whatever else I'm involved in, they're all large companies. We've been reasonably financially stable. We don't have debt. We have enough cash on hand to last us for some time. So we can manage. Okay. So, but my biggest worry is, even in this large business situation, and ability to manage is when I keep thinking of which guy is going to get up in the morning and say, I'm going to buy a new car.
Yeah.
That's the thought that worries me. When is it going to be? How long will it be before he gets up and says, I'll buy a new car? And my wife, Gitanjali, you know her, she's been in advertising for a long time, many years. She says, you have to rethink of this, because there may be a lot of people who say, I don't want to share a car.
Yeah.
Because it's safe. It's a safety issue. Either I will not go out, or I want to get into a vehicle which is disinfected and I know it's disinfected. So I think there's going to be both those issues going up. I believe there's going to be enough retail finance available after this opens up. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed. So between these two, something will happen. But the hard hit is, of course, the small and medium industry. The hard hit are the component buyers. If we say we open up the country, first the green zone, and then the orange, and then the red zones. If I look at my component suppliers, they're mainly Bombay, Pune, Delhi, and Chennai. If you look at the color map, you're talking of them having difficulty opening up. And if they say that we will close the borders between the red zones and the rest of the country, difficult for auto industry to start up also, especially, even if you're in Bangalore, even if you're in a green zone. So that's a bit of a concern for me. Small scale, medium scale, everyone knows the situation, their money situation, their ability to continue. That's a big worry. We have been asking the government from CII that first, please give as much direct cash payments to poor people as you can. They've started doing it. Of course, the food security issues they're trying to address. And we are pushing hard for something for MSME. And I think the only thing for MSME that will work, giving loan readjustments and rethink is one story. They need orders and cash.
Yeah.
They need cash to pay salaries. Very easy to say, keep all your labor on. But if you have no money in the company, how the hell will you pay?
Yeah.
Where will you get the money from to pay?
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And it's a grave worry, because nobody really seems to have like a clear answer on that at this stage, which then,
and on top of all this, I don't want to second guess the medical professionals.
Yeah.
From CII, I've been very clear. I'm saying, we don't want to force the government to open up. I think the government, the politician, has to take a decision based on the professional advice he gets from the medical professionals who understand the virus, who understand the technology of when the medicines will come, how you will take care of people, and then take a call on when you open or when you start lifting the lockdown. We can't second guess it.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think everybody will second you on that. The point about there being so far no movement towards any talk of a stimulus package, everything that you just mentioned, it kind of links back to that. So, is that something that you would like to see at least some conversation around that, or some reassurance around that?
We're having a lot of conversations. I lost your voice, Siddharth.
No, go ahead. I can hear you.
We are having a lot of conversations with the government on this. but and they're listening. I think they're working on a package. I don't think they want to fire all the bullets at one time. I think once the lockdown opening up timing is sort of given, I think you'll start seeing more of the package details coming out.
Okay, that's fair.
There's no point in doing a package right now when there's a lockdown also.
Yeah.
Except for currently it's food, medicine, and health and survival packages which are being focused on.
That's paramount. Yeah, absolutely. The point you were making about people not necessarily jumping out of bed thinking they want to buy a new car, I accept that, and because that has of course been discussed ad nauseum in the auto circles. But the other point also then, the sort of little silver lining, the opportunity, more people now looking for personal mobility again and not necessarily shared or public mobility. Is that big enough, you think, to give some kind of succor to the industry at this stage? That yes, that is at least an opportunity.
One thing that as I was telling you, there was one member who gave a lot of very interesting thoughts, and one of the thoughts he said, one of my friends, he said that the market at the time of this COVID spike, or when we are in this problem, may behave quite differently than the long-term market. So be careful of that. And I think that's what people have to watch out. During this now, my thoughts. Please ask again. Someone was asking a question.
I know there were a lot of questions actually coming in for you. So as I get you back here, let me start at least reading those questions out to you. Okay. How does the FY21 look? The general perception is that it's going to be a washout here, and if that is so, what will turn the corner for the auto sector?
It is going to be. I don't think there's an issue of capacity. The whole auto sector can produce whatever they want and enough to make adequate profits. But it really depends on the market. I think for FY21, how many people will buy car? We will try our best. Prices of cars have gone up because of BS6. It's going to be a tough bet. Very hard to call. I think our focus is going to be more on just controlling our costs and making sure we keep our nose above water.
Okay, and then related to that is a question from Jinesh. That's the one I think we got cut off at last time.
Yeah.
How does Toyota Kirloskar's lineup for the lockdown lineup look post the lockdown in 2020?
Well, we have stopped certain vehicles like Etios and Leva and Corolla. So there will be some new vehicles coming in, but bulk of our lineup, what you see from now to 2022, will be focused on how to meet CAFE 2.
Yeah.
Which is a very stringent regulation coming up, and we are investing on that. We're investing in technology on that, investing in new drivetrains, etc. on that, and you'll so the lineup I can't, and we never tell what we're going to make.
I wish you would, yeah.
But I can assure you, the focus is on CAFE 2 for us.
In line with that, then I think, I will then let me reserve my question. Let me ask this one instead. Rajiv is asking, any new products such as mini SUV? There has been talk about the collaboration with Suzuki there. So,
well, let's see.
Okay. Then the question that I was going to ask, which is of course linked to those norms. There's been so much, in the past there was a lot of expectation. I know that from a policy perspective, nothing happened on hybrids. Do you think that now finally we are seeing some light at the end of that tunnel?
See, I don't know about the only policy which I know is firm is CAFE 2. Okay, it's stage 6 and CAFE 2.
Yeah.
And the vehicles we'll end up producing, I think, after 2022 to meet CAFE 2 are going to be, there's definitely going to be a large hybrid component. We are investing in that, in the manufacture. Whatever we make now, we understand, we realize it can't be based on imported parts. It's going to be based fully on whatever we bring out is going to be fully based on what we're going to make here in India.
Okay.
That's, I think, the best answer I can give right now.
That's fair. No, but tell me this, Vikram. When it comes to this conversation in particular, there's been two aspects to it that always get thrown up. The first is, how much of that will you make locally, even in terms of the batteries, etc. And I know some answers there have already been met by the battery plant, etc., that you've invested in Gujarat already, along with Suzuki. But what about balancing that with what's also part of your global portfolio, so that you have the India-specific product, but you also have the ones that people want to see, which they see in other countries?
I think what you will probably find when we do any manufacturing, it's the big focus will be on the heart of the vehicle, perhaps the drivetrain, and that's going to be one of the big focuses. And typically, when we export and we look at the global portfolio, we look at when we invest in the manufacturing, like the hardcore, the heart of the car, we tend to invest for a market more than India, for other countries as well. So that's something I think you will see coming up, that we invest in the drivetrains and things, which will go not only in Indian vehicles, but also in vehicles outside India. Global portfolio, we brought the Wellfire. I hope we'll bring in more. Some of these are high-end ones. I know I don't know when we'll start making, but we've started manufacturing the Lexus ES already.
Yeah. And in fact, Lexus has been sort of driving that hybrid charge in many ways. So when it comes to, the reason why I asked about that hybrid question is because inevitably then leads us to the EV question, obviously. And given that you are literally the only one, along with Suzuki, of course, but the only ones who have shown a very serious intent there by making these big investment announcements and actually having some of that work begin on ground. The expectation, therefore, is that you will obviously have a much wider portfolio of these vehicles going forward, and yet we find other manufacturers have started to launch these EVs into the market, maybe as one model at a time. So how soon will we see that happening on a more mass scale, a more democratic product, not just a Lexus?
I think you'll see the hybrids coming quite way down as we reach 2022. Okay. Perhaps by 25, 26, I don't know how much of our portfolio will be non-hybrid. Just let me put it that way. And going towards smaller vehicles.
And would you say that this is going to be towards hybrids and EVs, or you think hybrids is that first big?
See, for us, I'll tell you, the Toyota architecture, hybrid architecture, is common with the full hybrid, or the plug-in hybrid, which is a bigger battery, or a hydrogen vehicle where the engine is replaced by a fuel cell, or a pure EV where, again, there's a much bigger battery. The architecture is exactly the same. The components are the same. Okay, we really are looking at serving a market based on the the power of the energy availability. We still feel that India is still 70% coal-fired plants. We still think a hybrid is far cleaner than an EV, and the numbers show that because of the way it's charged. Eventually, Toyota thinks globally hydrogen is going to be the way to go. Ways of producing hydrogen there are many new ways coming out. The cost of producing hydrogen is coming down. There's a lot of hydrogen available in the world, also in the country. There are technical issues on compressing hydrogen, cost of the fuel cell. There are certain materials in the fuel cell which are expensive, but new materials are getting substituted. A lot of research going on there. We feel that this may be a direction. For us, a hydrogen vehicle is a EV. Instead of a battery, there's a fuel cell. Everything else is the same.
But this is interesting, because obviously when you mention this, when you talk about this, you are very clearly keeping the Indian context in mind. So you do believe that there is a future with hydrogen in India too, in our context, given our requirements?
Yes, I think so. I think so eventually. You see, I'll tell you very simply. Energy in 1 kilogram of liquid hydrogen is equal to 450 kilograms of a lithium-ion battery.
There's no
very,
comparison.
very simple.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, technical things will get solved. I don't say that all the solutions are here today.
Yeah.
It's like the virus. We don't have a vaccine today, but it will come.
Yeah.
And a lot of countries are working on hydrogen. Everyone, governments, everyone is working on hydrogen. And this is primarily the reason, is the energy concentration that you have in hydrogen. Definitely for trucks. If you saw in Germany trains now, you must have read Alstom has supplied, I think, 6 train racks, which are hydrogen powered, where they don't have electrical lines, electric catenaries, and hydrogen makes a lot of sense there. It's a full electric way. It's an electric train set, but it's running off hydrogen.
And the good part is that when it comes to the car side, you've got now some good amount of market experience with the Mirai, globally. So there are so many learnings.
Mirai, which I use sometimes.
I mean, the car drives really well. I have driven it, so I can vouch for that. And the fact that you now also have a second generation that's come, right? I mean, it's not just this sort of one-off car anymore.
No. I think you'll see more of. I think you'll see it first, even earlier in trucks and buses.
So and actually, I agree with you, because that makes more sense, even economically speaking, more viable. But going back to your point that you made earlier about increasingly your portfolio starts concentrating on being greener and yet also being compact. I think that's another space that most other manufacturers seem to be missing. That's more so in the context of hybrids, right? Not so much, obviously, hydrogen at this point.
Right now, I think hydrogen is on the horizon. I think until the cost of the fuel cell comes down, and I think the technology on compressing hydrogen, the cost of energy required to compress hydrogen comes down. There are different ways to do it. It's still on the horizon as far as any kind of small car is concerned. But if you look at a mix, and CAFE tends to work as a mix.
Yeah.
You're going to end up with perhaps, like you say, trucks, hydrogen tends to make sense in the future. Perhaps in cars, depending on the electricity situation, you're looking at pure EVs and hybrids. Maybe in smaller cars, you're looking at either hybrids or even highly fuel-efficient engines, which is what is happening in Europe right now.
Okay. Hang in there with me, because I'm going to just play a little video, and then I'm going to ask you about that. I know you won't be able to see it yet, but I'll tell you what it is. So just give me a second here, and here we go. Yes, okay, so back with you. The Toyota Glanza is the car that was on that little video. A lot of related questions coming about, when do we see the rebadged Vitara Brezza? So there was talk earlier about how the Corolla would also go to Suzuki when this whole partnership was first envisaged and announced. I understand that you cannot share specifics with us, but tell me this whole point of going in this direction, it's a very small starting step. I completely appreciate that, and I know that we'll see bigger dividends of this partnership much more in the future. But your thinking on this, you think the fact that you have a powerhouse like Maruti Suzuki in India, and then the global powerhouse of Toyota, it's just got to be the strongest combination.
No, I think that's not the way it was looked at when it was started. I think the way it was looked at is that there are certain weaknesses that Toyota had, especially in manufacturing small cars. The able to bring it at a cost level that Suzuki can do, and what Maruti can do, probably even better than anyone else in the world. I think that's one of our weak points. We want to learn from that, and I think we have technologies, and whether it's electric vehicles or in emission and safety, which require a huge amount of investment. And Suzuki is a much smaller company that way, although very successful. But I think they needed that kind of technology as well. So it's based on that, and I think you'll start seeing next couple of years, you'll start seeing some really good results out of this. We are not rushing into it.
Sure.
I've worked with not only Toyota Motor, but some of the other affiliate companies. We have a joint venture with Toyota Automatic Loom Works. Now it's called Toyota Industries. We do two products with them. One is forklifts and one is textile machinery here in India. And I've seen also how they operate when they've bought companies abroad, when they've started doing this. They started off very slowly so that culturally we are able to work together. A lot of this is based on getting a cultural understanding of each other. Each company has its own culture. Each company has its own way of working and own values, and whatever. The whole system is different in each company. And even if a product plan or a strategic plan on products and on technology looks fantastic and looks, it's so obvious you should do X, Y, Z and do it tomorrow, unless you can get the cultural part to work together nicely, very often those things don't work. So I think Toyota has learned that, and probably Suzuki has also learned that, and we also understand that. So we are trying to do it slowly. So when we do something, we don't go backward. So I think that the Toyota Glanza for us has been quite successful. We've done well with it. We are selling well. Our dealers are happy. The next product, whichever one that comes out, it may be more than rebadged or just rebadged, I don't know, but it'll be something which we want to take this forward.
Sure.
And same thing, whenever we manufacture a vehicle which is sold by both us and Maruti, we want to make sure it's successful. So we'd like to build up on each point rather than rush into something big and then have a failure.
But the point about this rebadging, etc., and like I said myself, I know that's just the first step. How long before we get to the core development of a new vehicle, either a platform or using an existing platform, but a brand new vehicle?
But let me say, there's a lot of work going on that.
I'm sure there is, and I wish you could tell us more right now. A partly related question then.
Maybe. I've just made a hint saying Cafe 2 is going to be critical for both our companies.
Yeah. No, I know where you're going with that, but I won't say it either. There's a question from Jashan who says, how about the Altis? You've discontinued it, but will it come back? Because, Corolla as a nameplate is huge.
Currently it wasn't making economic sense for us, the volume we were making and the sale and the price. We'll have to just see how it goes. Camry, we are doing Camry and the Lexus, we are doing on a CKD basis. Just let's see how this works out. We are surprised by the sales of Wellfire. So perhaps a few more years, market changes, we can see what to do.
Okay, my colleague Shams has a nice question for you. Your take on the subcompact sedan space and why TKM has not shown any interest there, given, especially now, even with your partner, I mean, the Desire remains this massive sales behemoth.
Listen, in our factory, we are not able to meet the cost structure of any of these small car competitors, very frankly. And we don't want to make something which will not have a margin.
Well, now you got Suzuki who can help you with that. You've got Suzuki now who can help you with that.
It's easier if they manufacture, and maybe we'll buy from them. I don't know.
Okay, but I understand you're not necessarily telling me anything here, right? I mean, this is not something that you.
No, but I'm telling you one thing, that we can't meet their cost structure.
Which you've said before.
We can't meet the cost structure of the small car makers.
But what was the learning out of the Etios program then?
See, Etios program, one was...
Because it's not like you sold a small volume there. You did actually end up finally selling a fairly sizable number of cars.
I think, for me, the biggest learning was perhaps the vehicle itself was highly reliable. Mm-hmm. I think all the comments I get from everyone was they were very happy with the reliability. It never broke down. It was quite generous in space. It did everything. But it looked like no one could explain to me what it looked like. Let me put it that way.
Yeah, it wasn't selling for its looks necessarily.
So I think that was one of the bigger issues there, and I think looks mean a lot. Mm-hmm. It's not just the reliability and all. I think we depended too much on the Qualis looks to upgrade to Etios looks certainly mean a lot. People's expectations of an interior are far more than they've ever been. I think we've learned that the hard way. But it's just not reliability and resale value.
No, but tell me this. I mean, that's a good sort of segue into this, because that is where I get. I mean, I'm telling you what I pick up only on consumer reaction, and so
I'll tell you one more thing we learned. Okay.
Okay.
Which is very important, especially as far as our people are concerned in the factory. When we started Etios and Liva, we had since it was a new platform, not built anywhere, there were issues as we were building it. And our people in the factory, our team members, engineers, managers, the whole system figured out how to sort them out quickly and make the vehicle reliable. And that to a large extent, they did within their own learning, their own experiments, their own innovations in Bangalore. And that has given a huge amount of confidence of taking a new platform and launching it.
Yeah.
That, if I can say, has been one of the biggest benefits of that Etios program. It was different than taking an existing platform or a proved out platform from somewhere else, but taking a new platform. And this will certainly help us with whatever we are doing with Suzuki right now. It's helping us a lot.
Yeah, in fact, the question I was going to ask is that how much of that then translates into that partnership? Because the concern, the flip side of what you said, where you said you can't meet those cost structures, is that, then what people look for from a Toyota car, the sense of massive reliability, that once you buy it, nothing's going to happen to it. The Etios certainly lived up to that. And nobody I know has complained about that. How can you then be so sure that, even through this partnership...
Now our challenge is, the challenge in the factories, I want to meet my Toyota quality and reliability, and I want to make it at a Suzuki cost. So that's what's in everyone's mind.
No, but what about the products that come out of the Suzuki factory, which are badged Toyota? That's what I'm asking. How do you ensure...
I think we are working closely with them how to... we are sharing technology on both sides. I think practices. We are learning a lot from them, how to do purchasing, how to do a lot of the cost structuring and everything. Yeah. I think both sides we are having good learning experience.
I know that's great for Suzuki. I mean, if you can combine that, this frugality with this amazing reliability on the product, you actually have a win-win. What about the Yaris? I mean, that's another space that initially we thought that segment is dying, but now again it seems to be showing a lot of pickup.
Again, I think with the BS6 and a lot of diesel vehicles going out, let's see what happens next few months. We are pushing hard on selling it.
Yeah, because you're right. The petrol preference for petrol seems to be coming back.
And this car, for whatever reason, maybe it wasn't successful earlier because of the lack of diesel, but the car is extremely reliable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And just as reliable as anything else we make, and quality levels are very high in the manufacture of this vehicle. So I'm hoping it will eventually be successful.
In fact, I remember that whenever we had a shootout in that segment, the rider used to always be this: that if you're looking for a petrol automatic, by the way, get the CVT Yaris, because the car is going to be smooth, it's going to be easy to drive.
It is very smooth.
Yeah, so
great to drive.
No question about that one. For Toyota, from a business perspective, the great thing is that you've had a massive amount of equity in segments which you've almost owned, like the Innova Crysta, like the Fortuner. But at the same time, as an international business, you can't ignore the high growth segments. We already talked about subcompact sedan. You've given us the answer on that. But what about the compact SUV? Because it remains, even in this slow market in the last 18 months, has been the absolute.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So how can you then ignore that? How can you stay out of that?
No, I don't think I think you will see something in the next 2 years.
Okay, that's fair. And by the way, there are a lot of questions on this one. Compact SUV, Creta arrival. I've been seeing a lot of these, things going up as well.
Something hopefully will come out. Yeah.
We hope so, because I think it also keeps the market honest. I mean, I think when Toyota enters a segment, it kind of lifts the whole segment in terms of quality too. I can say that.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, well, here we go. More questions about cars like the Seltos and the Creta. So, see, I mean, this is obviously what the consumer also wants from you. Is that something that gets discussed often enough, or do you always, what we know of Toyota, long-term plans, 5 years, 10 years?
See, Toyota, if you know, globally is largely right now manufacturing large cars.
Yes.
Even one of the biggest, hottest selling cars right now in the US is the RAV4, the new hybrid RAV4, which is an amazing car.
Which
And
also, by the way, there was a question on. Somebody's asked that question.
It's a large, expensive vehicle. It's no longer a small little car it's not a mini SUV by any Indian standard. It's a large car right now. It's absolutely fantastic. So Toyota has been really good at making these fairly large cars, and hybrid technology works very well with a larger vehicle in terms of to give it that fuel efficiency, to get it in the carbon range. If you look in Europe in the last few months, last 6 months especially, as the new standards came in, I think by December into Europe, new CAFE standards came into Europe, which is less than 100 grams of CO2. Toyota is well below the line, only company well below the line. And I think Toyota used to be 4th, 5th or something in the pecking order in Europe. Now they're number 2 after Volkswagen.
Yeah.
Because of sale of hybrids. And these are not small cars, these are fairly large cars. Their smallest cars are not hybrids. They're able to meet the carbon line, CAFE line, in spite of having the smallest cars as just petrol.
Yeah.
The way their whole thing is structured. So it's known well for the large cars.
But you've had success with
cars. Well with larger cars.
You've had success with cars like the CHR as well recently.
Yeah.
And there is a demand for compact vehicles in other markets too. So can we take hope from that?
Yes. Yes.
In fact, it's funny because we asked, you mentioned the RAV4 is the example, and bam, they were like, there's X-Roaders, there's, Sudesh, there is Rishabh, they all asked about the RAV4.
I know RAV4, it's fantastic, don't...
Please get the RAV4, now comes those
No
comments.
question about it, it's a super car, it's an expensive car, it's not a cheap car.
Shekhar has a question which is interesting then at this juncture. The 2,500 unit homologation free launches that you can do. I understand that you are, cars like the Velfire, you will use that. But what about doing some of these products, maybe as niche, small volume, just brand shaping products?
Maybe some sports cars.
I'm okay with that. I mean, you will certainly get my vote.
We've launched that new Lexus LCF or something.
Yeah.
And there's some guys that bought it actually, There have been customers for that car.
No, but will it remain only in those niche segments, or could you see yourself using that even for a car like a RAV4?
With 120% duty, a RAV4 will never sell here.
Where you obviously absorb some of that and only use it for marketing purposes for the brand, like some other brands.
This whole absorption story for me as in business is just a way to make a loss.
I can't argue with you on that.
So we are working very hard to say every product has to make a profit. That's all. We can't. If we start cross-subsidizing, you start losing track of things, and you keep losing track of your whole intention of, you have to survive in business finally. Toyota is not a company, and I'm a shareholder here. This is not Toyota independent. It's not like GM or some other car companies. If you lose money, they'll keep pumping in money. Toyota, although it's a very rich company, does extremely well around the world and has probably lots of cash reserves. It's not a company which likes to see losses anywhere and keep pumping in money for no reason.
Yeah.
And I don't want to do that either. I don't have that money.
No, and which is perhaps what others should have done as well. Approached it in a more sound fashion. By the way,
one way I think we are lucky. Toyota Kirloskar is lucky that they have a poor partner. Only mentally sound. Pocket-wise, not that close.
There's something that you would not have ever thought you'd hear. That's an advantage.
It's an advantage because I'll tell you, right from day one, we kept our costs very tightly under control. We localized our capital equipment right from day one. When we built Polis, we started with high local content. Okay, when we built the plants, the factories, the investment levels are so low. And even now, the way we run things, we use zero. I want to tell your viewers some interesting things what we are doing, what we've done in the last couple of years. We are almost more than 95%, some months 100% on renewable energy.
Wow.
Okay, we use zero fresh. All our roofs are solar. Plus we buy from outside, and plus we have solar in all our empty areas. Okay, and we've got some wind farms as well. We don't use any fresh water. From the Kaveri water was built for us, one pipeline. We don't use any more Kaveri water. In spite of having water-based paint shops. I don't think anywhere in the world they do that. We are recycling all our water and we're using rainwater harvesting.
Yeah, that is.
We have almost zero emission of anything. We are trying to reach net carbon in production to zero. We are doing so much on the environment. And this is not just for the sake of feeling good about the environment, it also reduces our cost dramatically.
Yeah, so it's not just lip service.
We're very frugal that way in the way we do things. The thing what we are not willing to touch is what they say Toyota quality standard. There's a Toyota quality standard which is written, and we're not willing to compromise anything on that. But everything else, we are trying to see how to cut down.
All right. There's a question that's come which links to something that I wanted to quickly do with you. So it's a sort of a rapid fire, if you will. So please indulge me. It doesn't have to be. I mean, I get it. We've had bandwidth issues already in this conversation. So as rapid as is possible. And then the question that's come, I'll tell you what that is after that. Your favorite sedan in India?
Oh, my favorite sedan in India is right now my Lexus 500.
Okay. Your favorite SUV in India?
Is a Land Cruiser.
Okay, I had a feeling you would say that. Favorite hatchback? Now I can put you on the spot.
My favorite hatchback, I think, is the BMW, whatever those, what's it, M? Not M, the other ones.
The 1 Series was the last hatchback they had, so...
No, not hatchback, it's that small SUV.
X1.
Oh, X3 or X5.
Right,
that's not a small
That's
hatchback.
not a hatchback, yeah.
No, that's not a small hatchback.
You could say Glanza.
I have a Viva for many years.
Okay,
which I use at home when I drive myself.
Yeah. No, and I agree. It's convenient and zippy, that car, in city traffic. Okay, favorite sports car?
I rarely driven a sports car, very frankly. The last sports car I drove was in college, which was a Porsche. So that was not mine. It was someone else's, and I didn't have a license either. He found out after I had driven it.
Okay, nice candid admission from you on that one, Vikram. When you said, by the way, when you said maybe we can use that homologation rule for sports cars, bam, a lot of comments and questions came about the Supra because it's lovely, the new one. It's crazy and lovely, in its own way. Okay, we'll talk about that in a second. Favorite bike, if you have one? Not a bike person.
No.
Most recent travel before the lockdown?
Bhutan. Outside India, it was Bhutan. I think it was on end of February, 1st or 2nd of March. We went with Piyush Goyal for 2 days. We had a big program on startups in Bhutan.
Okay.
Big CI group there. We had a lot of people there. But we're literally there just, I think, 1 night or 2 nights. It was very, very nice.
It's supposed to be spectacular. I've never been, but I've heard very nice driving roads as well.
Spectacular. Very people, very stunning. Yeah.
Okay. Favorite color? Basic question.
It's not this one. What I tend to wear a lot is blue and stripes. I'm a very basic, stylish guy. I just wear blue shirts and white shirts.
Okay.
Very unusual for me. Nowadays, I wear a lot of kurta pajamas.
Okay, that's fair. Your alma mater?
College is Massachusetts Institute of Technology, and school is Lawrence School, Lovedale.
I knew about the Lovedale thing. Your hometown?
Hometown is Pune.
Yeah, originally. Right now, I guess Bangalore makes more sense to say.
But I still say Pune. We say Pune is our hometown. My mother lives there. I have a house there.
I'm with you on that. I've never lived there, but I always say Pune is my hometown. Best food that you had?
I'm speaking to everyone here.
Yeah.
That's another
problem. Best food that you've had since the lockdown started?
Actually, we've gone down. We are basically having lunch nowadays, and we have gone down to literally one vegetable and one dal or curry and, one pulka, really cut down on the food. But the food has been coming out very, very well with the less number of items. Gitanjali, we are eating, today we had mooli parathas, which are fantastic. So that's been good. And I've been cooking at times at night. The other day I had I made a very simple pasta, which is pasta and pepperoncino cheese and pepper. Pepper. It came out fantastic. So we are having simple food. Evenings I'm cooking a lot.
Yeah.
Lunchtime someone else is cooking, and because by evening everyone has left the house.
Yeah.
So it's been simple food, very nice.
I of course know that you cook anyway. It's not just a lockdown thing for you. So
been vegetarian since for the last 20 days.
Okay, so that's the new thing. So then this next question is perfect. The thing that you're craving to eat once normalcy returns. Sushi, maybe the Japanese.
No, I think bacon and eggs.
Bacon and eggs. Yeah. Oh God, yes. All right. And the place that you're dying to go to once everything lifts.
I don't know what's happened to France. I'd love to go to south of France again.
Also good food there. And then the last book that you read or the movie that you watched?
Oh yeah, let me see. The serial we have watched on Hotstar recently, it was crazy. I can't believe I watched it. Kab Aayegi Trisha or some
I don't know about this.
Lod Jao Trisha.
Wow.
It's gone on for 40, 50, 60 episodes, man.
Wow.
I can't believe this is our state of affairs at times.
But you're watching
a lot of other. We've been watching whatever movies that are coming on. I just finished reading a book. 1 second.
All right. So while he goes and gets that book, I have to figure out what this show is that he's talking about.
Someone moved that book from my table. I was reading about the pharmaceutical industry in India.
Okay.
That I think it's just come out on the problem with the bad drugs and stuff. The old stories.
You can message me and I can then post it on this later. Okay. Last question then. Someone you're looking forward to meeting once the lockdown lifts.
I'm trying to meet all my. Definitely my daughter as soon as this is over, whenever I can travel. That's the first one on my mind. Probably go to Pune and meet all my cousins. We've been chatting on Zoom and things like this.
Yeah.
Looking forward to meeting all of them again.
Yeah, I can understand that. I think family is always top of mind in such situations. So,
my mother is there alone at home in Pune. I'd like to go meet her, in-laws, all of us.
So now I'll tell you what question had popped up, which reminded me that I had to do this rapid fire thing. The question was, what Toyota car do you drive personally?
Me? I'm using I have a bunch of Toyota cars at home. I have a LX 500, I have a RX, I have a Camry, I have an Innova, and I have a Leva.
So pretty much all those segments covered, right from Lexus down to the Leva.
Yeah. And most of the time I'm in the Lexus. And we have a Land Cruiser. My wife has a Land Cruiser.
I was about to say, I remember speaking to Gitanjali about that. She's had it for some time, right?
She's had it for some time. Yeah. She's got a red Land Cruiser because she goes to play golf 4 days a week.
Yeah.
And she finds it convenient to carry her clubs and her golf cart and all the trolleys and everything else. Yeah.
And of course, I know that's something that she must be missing right now as well, not being able to step out. So one last area that we'll talk about before I let you go, which is about this where we started.
Oh, we have a BMW X3 also. I don't know why.
The new one or the previous one?
BMW X3 as well. It's there for a long time.
Also the old one. Okay.
Yeah, old one. Yeah.
Also a nice car. So I was saying let's sort of come full circle. We started by talking about industry and the sense of assurance that you're giving them. Specific to Toyota, I mean, obviously internally, I'm assuming that you're always on, video conference or phone calls or, all that planning that's happening at the management level is one thing. But reaching out to the dealer community, I asked that in particular because I know a lot of the Toyota dealers, they have a very strong relationship with you in particular. How difficult is it to keep them, positive?
I spoke with I think 4 or 5 people, 4 or 5 dealers today. Every day I've been trying to call 1 or 2 dealers. Today it was a little more. And I hope next week, I've asked Naveen, our Vice President, who runs marketing, to see if we can organize a conference call with all our dealers. Just to chat, nothing, no specific thing. But I think we were one of the first ones to come out with a package for dealers. It came out way before anyone else did, and both Yoshimura and myself, we were very clear. We told Naveen, don't discuss it too much. Just go ahead and do it.
Yeah.
And I think most of the dealer community appreciates it, and I think they have confidence in us that we will take care of them.
No, I think that kind of goes.
I've been calling them and chatting with them.
I think that kind of goes with the Toyota territory in a sense, if I may say that. By the way,
dealer in Punjab asked him, "Can you see the Himalayas now?" He said, "Yeah, we can see that."
It's crazy how clear the air has gotten.
It's getting
right?
clearer and clearer.
Yeah. Well, hopefully perspective too soon enough. So I must tell you that we've actually requested Naveen San for some time, and he's going to be joining us on this show at one of these days as well. So
okay.
So we'll get some more.
Naveen, when you talk with him, last 2-3 years, he did a phenomenal amount of work in our CSR initiatives.
Yes.
And especially in getting our whole district around our factory completely outdoor defecation free. And this whole behavior change and things like this, which he has done, has been written about in Harvard. I think Harvard University has done a case study on what all he has done. It's very, very neat. Talk with him on that.
We've in fact partnered him a couple of times on safety initiatives as well, because I'm a little obsessed with that topic.
Yeah.
So I agree. I think he has done a phenomenal job. I will definitely talk to him about that. And I am sure that I will continue to have chats with you as well. Get some inputs and updates from you. But this was great. I mean, I appreciate you firstly agreeing to do this and then giving us so much time today. Right through all of that, where I lost the connection with you and everything. But thank you.
I hope all your buyers buy one car.
You can give them a little message. Before you sign off.
Please buy a Toyota as soon as this lifts.
That's as direct as it gets. But that's
direct.
But I must say, I've known you now for so many years, right from my business anchoring days to now. That's one thing you've always been. You don't sort of mince your words. You always say it like it is, and that's really appreciated. I have to tell you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Please give our best to Gitanjali, and both of you stay safe.
Viewers as well.
And both of you stay safe, you and Gitanjali.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.
Okay then. So
thank you.
Yes, that was Mr. Vikram Kirloskar, and he was just sharing with us what's been happening at Toyota, what's been the overall sense that the company is picking up right now when it comes to the current situation. And then also, of course, where things could go from here in terms of product. We did discuss a few things. We got a fair number of hints in terms of, where this whole current market situation is going to end up. And also more so about the kind of products that Toyota may be looking at in the future. There was a lot of talk about compacts. There was a lot of talk about hybrids. There was a lot of talk about better at the World Car Awards in the performance category, but the Porsches were just too strong, I think. So yes, the Supra would be something definitely, which could create a lot of excitement here in the Indian context as well. Many of you who are still with me right now, thank you for being online, and I really appreciate all your questions. This is still a new experiment for us here at Car and Bike. This whole freewheeling format is new because, it's sort of reflective of the times that we live in. And while I don't have a Supra here, I want to quickly show you the little FT86 that is my little Toyota, and of course the Prius. And then Gautam, I don't know if you're still watching, but I know you mentioned this car, which is, I can tell you, my favorite Toyota. It's the car that I was obsessed with. They stopped manufacturing the FJ Cruiser globally. It was a car that was designed mainly for the US market, and then of course also for Japan. I love it. I'm obsessed with it. I think it's very nice looking, and it's also a car that has this quirky retro feel which goes back to the FJ series. So I've always loved it.